Okay, so let's get one thing straight, because I've seen a lot of people online talking about Hampton Roads, saying that we don't have an identity. I've even seen somebody call it vanilla, like we're just a collection of cities and we don't have a real culture of our own. And honestly, guys, that could be further from the truth. If you're ever wondered what makes Hampton Roads different from other parts of Virginia, then you're in the right place, because today what I'm gonna do for you is I'm gonna break down the top 7 reasons why I personally believe Hampton Roads is the best place to live in Virginia. And I'm even gonna compare it to like Richmond in Northern Virginia. So if you're thinking about moving here, if you're just curious about the 757, or maybe you already live here and you're just looking for a reason to love it more, then this video is for you. From our deep historical roots to our strong military presence, diverse communities, and our unbeatable beach location, Hampton Roads has so much to offer. And my goal for you is by the end of this video, you're gonna see why so many people, especially me, love calling Hampton Roads home. So let's start with the first reason, which is our history and our culture. Because if there's one thing that Hampton Roads is not lacking, it's identity. In fact, this region is where America was literally born, okay? All right, let's get into it. So keep it real with me for a second. When you think of Hampton Roads, Virginia, what actually comes to mind? Do you picture Virginia Beach and the ocean front? Maybe you think about our huge military presence. Or maybe all you can think about is catching a cruise out of Norfolk. Well, whatever stands out to you first, one thing that you need to know is that Hampton Roads is actually where America began. See, before Richmond was the capital of Virginia, before Northern Virginia became the governmental powerhouse that it is today, right here in the 757 is where it all started. So of course, the first reason why I believe that Hampton Roads is the best place to live in Virginia is because of its deep American history and beautifully diverse culture. Now think about it. Jamestown was the first permanent English settlement in America, founded in 1607. So this is literally the birthplace of our country right here in Hampton Roads. There's Yorktown, where the Revolutionary War ended, and Fort Monroe in Hampton, which played a major role in both the Civil War and the fight for freedom. Of course, I cannot talk about history in Virginia without talking about slavery. Hampton Roads was one of the first places where enslaved Africans were brought to America, right at Point Comfort, now known as Fort Monroe. Did you know that? See, that moment in 1619 shaped the course of American history forever. And while it's a very painful past, it's also an important part of our identity here in Virginia. Now today, places like the Hampton History Museum, the Fort Monroe Visitor Center, and the African American Heritage Trail preserves these stories and make sure they're never forgotten. So when people try to tell me that Hampton Roads doesn't have an identity and we're vanilla, y'all, that is not true. Our history spans across every major chapter of America's story. Now, while Richmond's history is heavily tied to the Civil War and Northern Virginia is centered around the federal government, Hampton Roads is where it all began. And the best part, you don't have to just read about our history here. You can actually experience it. You can walk through Colonial Williamsburg, you can stand on the battlefield at Yorktown, or you can explore the Mariners Museum in Newport News, which is one of the largest maritime museums in the world. Because of our location, we've always had a strong maritime and military influence. The Navy, shipbuilding, and the port industry have shaped the way that this region has grown over the years. And then when you add in our arts, our music, and our diverse communities, you'll see how Hampton Roads has its own unique flavor and identity. Now, we may not have our own specialized food, but I digress. Now, of course, Richmond has a strong arts scene with museums and a big indie music culture. Northern Virginia benefits from being close to DC with major museums and international influences. But if you ask me, it's Hampton Roads for the win, because we have a mix of everything. We have the Neon District in Norfolk. It's full of murals, street art, and creative spaces. Virginia Beach has the Something in the Water Festival, bringing in major artists and celebrating Black culture. The Virginia Arts Festival brings world-class performances, and you can always find local events celebrating the military, seafood, Caribbean culture, the Strawberry Festival, and so much more. So when people say Hampton Roads does not have an identity, they're just not looking close enough. This region has been shaping America since the beginning. So have you been thinking about relocating to Hampton Roads, Virginia? I've got just the thing for you. My team and I have actually taken the time to create the ultimate relocation guide, which is meant to save you hours of research, and I've linked it down below. From top employers, the best hospitals, and a boatload of other things that you need to know before making the move to Hampton Roads. And the best part, guys, it is 100% free. That's right, you heard me. It's 100% free. So just click on the link in the description or the top pinned comment. I hope it helps. God bless you. One of the biggest parts of that identity, it's our military presence. Because not only has our military shaped our history, but it also plays a huge role in our economy, our community, and our way of life. So the second reason why I believe that Hampton Roads is absolutely the best place to live in Virginia, it's our military presence. Duh. So if you've ever lived in Hampton Roads, you know that the military presence is part of our daily life. You'll see Navy ships in the harbor. You'll hear jets flying overhead. You'll pass by military families in nearly every neighborhood. This is one of the most military-friendly regions in the entire country, and it shows. Hampton Roads has the largest concentration of military personnel anywhere in the U.S. outside of the Pentagon. We're home to Naval Station Norfolk, the largest naval base in the world, and Joint Base Langley Eustis in Hampton, one of the oldest Air Force bases in the country. The Coast Guard, Marines, and Army all have a presence here, and NASA's Langley Research Center is right in our backyard. So no matter where you live in the 7 cities, every part of this region is shaped by military life. Now, I have to say, Richmond does have some military ties, mainly through the Defense Supply Center Richmond and National Guard units, but it's nowhere near as ingrained in the culture like it is in Hampton Roads. Of course, Northern Virginia has the Pentagon, but its military presence is more government-based. You'll find contractors, policymakers, and intelligence agencies, but not the active duty, boots on the ground kind of military presence that you're gonna see here in Hampton Roads. When you live in Hampton Roads, you're going to see how much the community celebrates its service members and the veterans. There are military discounts at restaurants and stores, veteran-owned businesses throughout the area, and entire industries built around supporting military families. It's why we have some of the best VA hospitals and medical services in the country, and why military transition programs are such a big deal here in Hampton Roads. Now, if you walk into a local coffee shop on any given day, or you walk into a small business, chances are the owner is a veteran or military spouse. If you go into a community event, there's a high chance it's honoring or supporting the troops. And if you've ever been here for a Fleet Week, or if you've watched a homecoming at the Navy base, you already know this region doesn't just support the military, we embrace it. So as someone who actually lived in Richmond for a very long time, I didn't notice the same level of military appreciation and presence. Sure, you're gonna see a lot of veteran-owned businesses here and there, but it's not woven into everyday life the way it is in Hampton Roads. Here, military life isn't something separate, it's a part of the heartbeat of our communities. And for those who move here because of the military, first of all, thank you for your service. We welcome you. This is one of the best places to be stationed. The schools and neighborhoods cater to military families, and because so many people relocate here for the Navy, Air Force, or Coast Guard, you're never alone in the transition. I truly believe there's an instant sense of connection, and many people who come here for the military end up staying here long after they retire. So when we talk about what makes Hampton Roads the best place to live in Virginia, our military presence is a huge factor for me. It fuels the economy, it builds the community, and it gives the region a deep sense of purpose and pride. And speaking of who makes up this community, that leads me to reason number 3 of why I believe that Hampton Roads is the best area to live in Virginia. And it's because of our diversity and demographics. So did you know that Hampton Roads is home to people from all walks of life, and no matter where you're coming from, there's a place for you here? Whether it's the racial and ethnic diversity, the mix of blue collar and white collar professionals, or the blend of urban and suburban lifestyles, I believe Hampton Roads offers a unique balance that you won't find in every other part of Virginia. So let's break down the demographics and compare it to Richmond and Northern Virginia. So Hampton Roads is home to about 1.59 million people, making it one of the largest metropolitan areas in Virginia. The biggest city in the region is Virginia Beach, and it has over 453,000 residents, while Norfolk and Chesapeake each have populations of around 230,000 to 250,000. Now, these numbers may not seem as large as Richmond, which has 1.64 million people in its metro area, or Northern Virginia, which is the most densely populated part of the state with 3.4 million residents, but that's actually one of the benefits of living in the 757. We're a larger area, but we still have a hometown feel. Now, unlike Northern Virginia, which is heavily packed with people and traffic, Hampton Roads offers a much more balanced lifestyle. It's large enough to have everything you need: great schools, great shopping, entertainment, and job opportunities, but it's not so overcrowded that you feel like you're constantly sitting in traffic or fighting for space. Now, when it comes to racial and ethnic diversity, Hampton Roads is one of the most diverse regions in Virginia. The population here in the 757 is about 49% white, 31% black, 8% Hispanic, and 4% Asian. Certain cities have an even stronger representation of black and Hispanic communities, such as Hampton, Norfolk, and Portsmouth, which have some of the highest percentages of black residents in the state. Meanwhile, Virginia Beach and Chesapeake have growing Asian and Hispanic communities, particularly in areas with strong military ties. Now, Richmond actually has a similar racial composition with about 45% white, 47% black, 7% Hispanic, and 2% Asian. The city has a deep history tied to African American culture, and you can see that influence in the food, music, and art scene when you're in Richmond. However, Richmond is more centralized in its diversity. You'll find a strong mix of cultures in certain neighborhoods, while other areas still remain more segregated. Now, Northern Virginia, on the other hand, has a completely different demographic makeup. Because of its proximity to Washington, D.C., the population in Northern Virginia is 49% white, 10% black, 17% Hispanic, and 20% Asian. The diversity here is influenced by a high number of international residents, professionals, and government workers. While this creates a rich cultural mix, it also means the cost of living is significantly higher, and many people who relocated to Northern Virginia report they don't feel the same sense of community that they did when they were living in Hampton Roads. Now, something I was thinking about that I feel makes Hampton Roads stand out is the balance between working class and professional industries. The median household income here is about $64,600, which puts it right in the middle of Richmond and Northern Virginia. Richmond's median income is lower at about $45,000, while Northern Virginia is significantly higher due to its concentration of federal jobs and government contractors. But here's what's important. Income alone doesn't determine your quality of life. Northern Virginia has high salaries, but it also comes with extremely high housing costs, higher taxes, a fast-paced, high-stress lifestyle. Now, Richmond is more affordable, but doesn't have the same level of industry variety that Hampton Roads offers. Now, Hampton Roads has a unique advantage because of its strong military presence, a major port economy, and a mix of industries like shipbuilding, healthcare, and tourism. You have job opportunities without the extreme cost of living pressures, and you can still enjoy a great quality of life without being overwhelmed by urban congestion. In my opinion, Hampton Roads is a place where people from different backgrounds come together and truly feel at home. So if you're looking for diverse communities, job opportunities, and a place where you can feel connected, this region offers a lifestyle that balances work, culture, and affordability in a way that Richmond and Northern Virginia simply don't. Now, this is the number 3 reason why I believe Hampton Roads is the best place to live in Virginia. But let's go ahead and talk about education in schools, because whether you have kids or if you're thinking about long-term investment potential, for a lot of people, the quality of education plays a huge role when they're deciding where to live. Okay, so when I think about why I personally believe Hampton Roads is the best place to live in Virginia, I have to think about the education. One of the biggest concerns for families moving to a new area is public school quality. In Hampton Roads, we have a mix of highly rated school districts in areas that are improving, just like any other metro region. Some of the top performing public school districts in the area include York County, Chesapeake, and Virginia Beach, which consistently rank among the best in the state of Virginia. Now, Virginia Beach City Public Schools, for example, has a 91% graduation rate, and schools like Ocean Lakes High School and Princess Anne High School are recognized for their strong academic and specialty programs. Now, conversely, in Richmond, the public school system is more hit or miss. While surrounding areas like Henrico and Chesterfield counties have strong schools, Richmond Public Schools itself has struggled with lower graduation rates, fewer resources, and aging facilities. The city's graduation rate is around 71%, which is significantly lower than Virginia Beach and Chesapeake. Northern Virginia, on the other hand, has some of the top-ranked public schools in the country, especially in areas like Fairfax, Loudoun, and Arlington counties. Many families move to Northern Virginia for the schools, but they pay a premium in home prices and property taxes to do so. But I have to say, their schools are top-notch. Now, if you have student athletes in your family, let me tell you, Hampton Roads is one of the best places to be. The 757 has produced some of the biggest names in sports history, including Allen Iverson, Michael Vick, Alonzo Mourning, and Percy Harvin, and soon to be Paul Hudson III. but I'm biased. The high school football and basketball programs here are competitive, and scouts regularly recruit from this area. Now, compared to Richmond, which also has had a decent athletic scene, and Northern Virginia, which is more focused on academic-based programs, Hampton Roads is the top region for student athletes looking to play at the collegiate or professional level. So, where does Hampton Roads fit in overall? I believe the 757 offers strong school options without the extreme cost of living pressures that come with living in Northern Virginia. See, when we lived in Richmond, my kids attended mostly private school, but we relocated to Hampton Roads. I felt more comfortable with Virginia Beach Public Schools and later Maury High School in Norfolk. In Hampton Roads, I believe families can find high-ranking public schools without breaking the bank for a private school education. Now, I have to be honest, our son went to a few private schools, so for parents looking for private education or specialty programs, Hampton Roads does offer more choices than Richmond and more affordable alternatives to Northern Virginia. Schools like Norfolk Academy, Cape Henry Collegiate, and Hampton Roads Academy are among the best private schools in the state. There are also strong faith-based schools, STEM-focused programs, and military-connected schools that cater to a wide variety of educational needs. Now, I have to be fair and say that Richmond also has strong private school options like Collegiate School and St. Christopher's. My kids went to Victory Christian Academy, but because the public schools have more challenges, sometimes families often feel pushed toward private schools when they live in Richmond, which means paying that higher tuition. But let's keep it a buck. Northern Virginia absolutely has some of the best private schools and public schools in the state. Now, that can come with a heavy price tag. So families in places like McLean or Alexandria, they often pay over $30,000 a year in tuition, which isn't always realistic for the average family who's looking for affordability and balance. So in my opinion, okay, another advantage of living in Hampton Roads is access to quality higher education. This region is home to ODU, which is Old Dominion University, Hampton University, Christopher Newport, Norfolk State, Regent University, and William & Mary, which all offer strong undergraduate and graduate programs. Now, Richmond has VCU, which is Virginia Commonwealth University, which is a powerhouse for medical and arts programs, and they have the University of Richmond, which is a top-ranked private university. Northern Virginia is close to George Mason University and has access to DC-based institutions like Georgetown and Howard University. But again, the cost of living and competition make it harder for local students to attend without leaving the area. Hampton Roads is unique because students can stay in the area for college without sacrificing quality. Schools like Hampton University and Norfolk State offer historically Black college and university experiences, while William & Mary and CNU provide small campus settings with rigorous academic programs. So friends, when it comes to education, I believe Hampton Roads offers families a solid balance of strong public schools, diverse private school options, and access to great colleges, all without the extreme cost of living in Northern Virginia or the struggling public school system in Richmond. Now, I've talked to you about all of the reasons so far why I think Hampton Roads is the best place to live in Virginia, but really now let's talk about safety, because when it comes to choosing a place to live, safety is one of the top concerns that I hear from most of my clients. Now, one of the things that clients who are relocating to the area always ask me about is how safe is an area. A major reason that I love Hampton Roads is because I genuinely feel a sense of safety here. Now, I'm originally from Philly and I spent over 10 years living in Richmond, and to be honest, this is the safest I've ever felt overall in an area. Now, does that mean that there's no crime here? Guys, of course not. Every city has its own challenges, and Hampton Roads is no different. But compared to places like Richmond and some parts of Northern Virginia, many areas in the 757 offer a safer, more balanced quality of life. So if you're thinking about moving here, you need to know that crime varies across the 7 cities. So you'll want to pay attention to where you're looking. Some areas have lower crime, while others have struggled more with crime in recent years. So let's break it down. Virginia Beach is one of the safest major cities in all of Virginia. In 2024, it had a murder rate of 2.88 per 100,000 residents. With a population of about 460,000 people, that translates to roughly 13 homicides for the entire year, which is low for a city of its size. Now, it's good to note that property crime like burglaries and car thefts is also well below the national average in Virginia Beach. Now, when we look at Chesapeake had a murder rate of 3.92 per 100,000 people in 2024. With 250,000 residents, that means about 10 homicides in a year. Now, like Virginia Beach, crime in Chesapeake is lower than in many other parts of Virginia, and Chesapeake is generally known for safe neighborhoods and safe schools. One of the fastest growing cities in Tidewater is Suffolk, and part of what makes Suffolk so appealing is that it has a pretty low crime rate. In 2024, Suffolk had about 11 homicides. Now, while crime does exist, it's not as concentrated as in places like Norfolk or Portsmouth, and many areas in Suffolk offer quiet suburban style living. Now, conversely, Portsmouth has consistently had one of the highest crime rates in Virginia. Doesn't mean it's bad, but in 2024, the murder rate was 38.38 per 100,000 residents. That means in a city of about 97,000 people, there were 37 homicides last year. While there are great communities in Portsmouth, it's important to research your neighborhoods carefully before you make that move. But I will say there are several places in Portsmouth that I love. Now, Newport News has overall seen higher crime rates, but it's not as severe as what it was in Portsmouth. In 2024, Newport News had roughly 23 homicides in the year. Now, while some areas in Newport News have more crime, there's still plenty of great neighborhoods that I love to sell in that are safe and are family friendly. You just gotta do your research. Now, Norfolk is a mixed bag. While certain neighborhoods experience higher crime rates, many areas remain safe and welcoming. In 2024, Norfolk reported 35 homicides, which was a 17% decrease from the 42 homicides that occurred in 2023. So, how does crime in Hampton Roads compare to Richmond and Northern Virginia? I'm glad you asked. Richmond has struggled with crime for years, and in 2023 it had 64 homicides, which was an 8% increase from the previous year. Richmond's crime is higher than any city in Hampton Roads except Portsmouth. Now, the violent crime rate is roughly double that of Virginia Beach or Chesapeake, meaning someone who lives in Richmond is statistically more likely to be impacted by crime than if they lived in one of the cities in Hampton Roads. Now, Northern Virginia, by contrast, is generally safer than Richmond, but more mixed compared to Hampton Roads. For example, Fairfax County saw an 8.7% increase in violent crime in 2023, with an increase in rapes and aggravated assaults. Now, Alexandria and Arlington tend to be safer than Richmond, but carjackings and property crimes have increased in recent years. So if you're considering moving to Hampton Roads, here's how you can check the crime rates for yourself. First of all, you can check the local crime maps. Many police departments provide crime reports on their website. Now, one thing I highly recommend is talking to locals. If you're considering a neighborhood, visit that neighborhood and speak with residents to get a real sense of the area. Join neighborhood Facebook groups and ask questions in those groups. There is no better way to find out what's going on in a neighborhood than from talking to nosy neighbors, honey, okay? Finally, I always encourage my clients to drive around the different times of day and night. And if you have time, during different times of the year. A neighborhood can feel different during the day versus night, and during the summer versus winter. Let me tell y'all a quick story. When my sister first moved here from Philly, she had the nerve to go and put down a deposit on an apartment and then call me after the fact like, hey sis, I found a place to live. I picked her up late at night and I drove her around that neighborhood that she found on her own. Neither of us felt safe. Needless to say, I had to fight to help her get her deposit back. But what we were not gonna do is we were not moving in that neighborhood, okay? So what I'm saying is you have to do your research in advance because your level of safety is not the same as somebody else's level of safety. Hey guys, as much as I love making these videos, there's one thing I love more, and that's helping families and people from all over the United States and the world make the move here to Hampton Roads, Virginia. I've helped countless families make the move here. So whether you're coming out next week, next month, or even next year, don't hesitate to reach out. Our contact information is right here on the screen, and it'll be linked in the description in case you missed the on-screen pop-up. I look forward to helping you and your family make the move to Hampton Roads, Virginia. God bless you. At the end of the day, friends, crime exists everywhere, but the key is knowing how to do your research so that you can feel safe in whatever neighborhood you're in. Hampton Roads has tons of beautiful communities that will make you feel safe and feel like you're a part of something big. Now, enough about crime. We've talked about all the other reasons why I personally believe Hampton Roads is the best place to live in Virginia, but let's talk about the opportunities and cost of living. When I think about why Hampton Roads is the best place to live in Virginia, the balance between job opportunities and affordability really stands out to me. At the end of the day, most people want to live in a place where they can find stable work, afford a comfortable lifestyle, and actually enjoy living their life. And that's exactly why I believe Hampton Roads is a great option to live. In Hampton Roads, the job market is diverse. We offer careers in a variety of industries. With the largest naval base in the world, military and defense jobs are a huge part of our economy, not just for service members, but for civilians working in contracting, logistics, cybersecurity, and engineering. Shipbuilding and repair are also major industries in Hampton Roads, especially in places like Newport News, where thousands of people are employed at the shipyard. Healthcare is another strong sector, with major hospitals, medical research centers, and universities providing opportunities in everything from nursing to administration. And because Hampton Roads is home to several universities and colleges, education is a steady source of employment. Now, tourism and hospitality are also really big here, particularly in Virginia Beach, where hotels, restaurants, and attractions drive seasonal jobs and business opportunities. Now, what really makes Hampton Roads stand out is how affordable it is compared to other major cities in Virginia. The cost of living here is about 5% lower than the national average, which means housing, utilities, and daily expenses are more manageable than in a lot of other places. Richmond, for example, is actually about 1% more expensive than the national average, which means even though it's not a high cost area, it still doesn't stretch your paycheck as far as your paycheck would stretch in Hampton Roads. Now, Northern Virginia is a whole other beast, okay? The cost of living there is significantly higher, particularly when it comes to housing, transportation, and even buying groceries. While salaries in Northern Virginia are typically higher, they often don't fully offset the increased cost of living, which means people may earn more but still feel like they're struggling to get ahead. Beyond affordability, Hampton Roads is experiencing steady economic growth. In fact, the region's economy projected to grow by about 2.5% in recent years, which means industries are expanding, businesses are hiring, and there's stability in the job market. What's even better is that the local economy isn't completely dependent upon one industry. While the military plays a really big role here, there are also growing opportunities in technology, cybersecurity, and renewable energy, which are attracting new businesses and creating even more jobs. Now, income levels in Hampton Roads vary depending on the industry, but when you compare salaries to the cost of living, your money goes further here than in any other part of Virginia. A good paying job in Richmond or Northern Virginia might sound appealing at first, but when you factor in higher rent or mortgage payments, increased taxes, and everyday expenses, the financial advantages start to disappear. Here, people can earn competitive wages while still being able to buy a home, save money, and enjoy life without feeling stretched too thin. Hampton Roads is also a great place for entrepreneurs. I can attest to that firsthand, and remote work from home workers. Small business owners benefit from affordable commercial spaces, business-friendly policies, and a strong local consumer base. And for those who work remotely, the lower cost of living, reliable internet access, and growing number of co-working spaces makes it a practical choice. It's also a great option for military retirees looking to transition into civilian careers while still having access to the military community and resources. Now, at the end of the day, friends, where you live should allow you to grow both professionally and personally. In my humble professional opinion, Hampton Roads provides solid career opportunities, a lower cost of living, and an economy that continues to expand, making it an ideal place for people who want to build a future without sacrificing their quality of life. But now that we've talked about the economy, let's talk about housing and affordability, because cost of living is one thing, but finding a home that fits your budget is a whole other conversation. Let's get into it. Okay, so I'm a realtor. So of course, when I think about why Hampton Roads is the best place to live in Virginia, affordable housing is a huge part of that. Now, don't get me wrong, housing prices have gone up everywhere, and no place is as affordable as it used to be. That's just a fact. But when you compare Hampton Roads to places like Richmond and Northern Virginia, your money can simply go further here. Now, housing prices in Hampton Roads are generally more affordable than in Northern Virginia, and they're on par or slightly lower than Richmond, depending on where you're looking for a home. As of 2024, the median home price in Hampton Roads hovers around $325,000, while in Richmond it's closer to $340,000. Northern Virginia, it is a completely different ballgame. Over there, you're looking at a median price of around $600,000 or more. And that's not even counting areas like Arlington and Alexandria, where prices can easily hit the seven figures, okay? Now, the big difference comes down to what you can actually get for your money. In Hampton Roads, a budget of $350,000 can get you a nice single-family home with a yard, possibly in a newer community. But in Northern Virginia, $350,000 will barely get you a small condo, often in an older building with limited space, okay? Richmond falls somewhere in between. You can still get a decent home for that price, but in some of the more desirable areas, prices are climbing fast, but that's what's happening all over the place. So when you're planning your budget, property taxes are a key cost that many people forget to factor in, and that can add thousands of dollars to your annual expenses. One of the advantages of living in Hampton Roads is that in most cases, property taxes here are more affordable than what you pay in places like Northern Virginia or Richmond. Virginia Beach has the lowest property tax rate in the region at 97 cents per $100 of assessed value, making it one of the most tax-friendly cities in Hampton Roads. Now, Chesapeake follows closely behind at $1.01, and Suffolk comes in at $1.07, keeping property taxes relatively low for homeowners in those areas. However, as you move into cities like Norfolk, Hampton, and Newport News, the rates start to climb drastically. Norfolk has a property tax rate of $1.25, Hampton is $1.15, and Newport News sits at $1.22. Portsmouth has the highest tax rate in the region at $1.30 per $100 of assessed value, meaning homeowners there pay noticeably more in taxes than those in the neighboring cities. Now, when we compare that to Fairfax County in Northern Virginia, where the property tax rate is $1.14 per $100 of assessed value, which may seem similar to some of the Hampton Roads cities, but when you factor in the much higher home prices in Northern Virginia, the actual dollar amount paid in property taxes is significantly higher. Meanwhile, Richmond's property tax rate is $1.20, meaning homeowners there generally pay more in taxes than most homeowners in Hampton Roads. Now, at the end of the day, property taxes make a big difference in your overall housing costs, and it's something to consider when choosing where to live. If you're looking for the lowest tax burden, Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, and Suffolk offer the most affordable options here in Hampton Roads. But if you're open to slightly higher taxes in exchange for a different lifestyle or location, Norfolk, Hampton, or Newport News might still be a great fit. Either way, it's important to factor property taxes into your home search so you're not caught off guard when tax season rolls around. Now listen, I don't want y'all coming for me in the comments. I'm not saying every single part of Hampton Roads is considered affordable. There are expensive areas here too, like Sandbridge and Virginia Beach and other areas. Chesapeake has luxury homes that are well over $1 million as well. But on average, when it comes to balancing home prices, cost of living, and overall value, I just feel like Hampton Roads is going to give you more options at better prices than the other major parts of Virginia. So whether you're looking to buy your first home, if you're looking to rent while saving for a down payment, or if you're trying to find a place, look, I just feel like Hampton Roads is going to check off all the boxes. You're not going to have to sacrifice location, space, or affordability because we have it all here. Okay, friends, we've covered a lot in this video, and by now you should have a pretty good idea of why I believe Hampton Roads is the best place to live in Virginia. But let's do a quick recap so you can see the big picture. First, we talked about the history and the culture of the region. Hampton Roads is where America began. Period, okay? Then we got into the military presence and how it shapes the area. With the world's largest naval base, several other military installations, and a huge veteran population, the military is a core part of life here. It brings stability to the local economy, it creates a strong sense of community, and it offers incredible support systems for active duty members, veterans, and their families. Next, we looked at demographics and diversity because people want to know if they'll feel included and welcomed where they live. Hampton Roads has a diverse and growing population with communities that reflect a mix of culture, backgrounds, and professions. From there, we broke down crime rates and community safety. Every city has its challenge, but when compared to Richmond and even parts of Northern Virginia, Hampton Roads can hold its own. The key is knowing where to look and using the right resources to make the best decision for you and your family so you guys can be safe. Now, we also talked about economic opportunities and the cost of living. The job market in Hampton Roads is strong, with careers in military and defense, shipbuilding, healthcare, education, and tourism. And of course, we had to break down housing and affordability. So whether you're looking to buy, sell, or invest, your money's going to go further in Hampton Roads than in Northern Virginia or even parts of Richmond. Home prices here are more reasonable, property taxes are generally lower, and you don't have to sacrifice the space or location to afford a great home in Hampton Roads. Y'all, at the end of the day, Hampton Roads may not be for everyone, but listen, I love it here. This is my home. I've lived in Richmond and I've visited Northern Virginia plenty of times. And while those areas may have their own appeal, in my humble opinion, Hampton Roads offers the best mix of history, opportunity, affordability, and lifestyle. So if you're thinking about moving to Virginia and you want to know if Hampton Roads is right for you, do your research, ask the right questions, and decide what works best for you, for your lifestyle, your family, and your goals. And if you're already considering a move, I'd love to help you navigate the process. click the link in the description to check out my relocation guide, or just book a consultation so we can chat. No matter where you live in the US, I can help you. Let me know in the comments. Does Hampton Roads sound like a place you'd want to live? If you have any questions, drop them below. And if you're ready to start your home search, just reach out to me. Thank you so much for watching, friends, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless you.